The indigenous people of America are known for their culture and religion in communion with nature. Their lifestyle has always reflected a deep understanding and respect for their natural surroundings, seen through the eyes of shamanism. Although their cultures changed drastically based on their original area of residence, all of their spiritualities share the concept of communion with the spirit world, the possession from entities, the revelation of forces that were before invisible, the induction of altered states of consciousness through the use of natural psychedelic substances, and most importantly, through ritual music. Music has always been a fundamental part in native culture and religion. Although every group of indigenous people has its own music and its own musical characteristics, some aspects are overall similar. We can, for example, say that indigenous music is mainly characterized by singing and percussions. Usually, the singing roles depend on gender and have a religious or romantic topic. The percussions are supposed to accompany the song, and among the different tribes there are many different kinds of drums, both one or two-phased, the most common being made of turtles' shells. There are also records of indigenous guitars and violins, and the second most common type of instruments are the wind ones, like flutes and whistles. In the case of the southwestern native tribes, there are also cases of rattles, clay bells, shell trumpets, idiophones, and bull roarers. In all scenarios, music has always played a key role in ceremonies and healing processes. Songs based on the repetition of low notes were designed appositely to alleviate pain and create a reassuring ambience. When it comes to communion with the spirit world, however, we need to talk about trance, the liminal state of consciousness between the worlds of the living and the dead, the psychological place where shamans had their revelations from the gods. There were many drugs used to achieve this altered state of mind. The Mayas used a mixture of honey and lonchocarpus. Aztec used psilocybin through the psilocybe mushrooms. There are even records of the use of the skin of the toad bufo, which supposedly contained bufotoxin with hallucinogenic properties. Ancient native herbology then prescribed the use of Jimson weed, wild tobacco, water lily, and salvia in order to treat pain of the soul. Usually, dealing with a trance experience in native culture was a rite of passage. It meant facing death and ancestors themselves, and after that, officially entering the adult age or stepping into a specific role into the tribe, it usually being religious leader or warrior. Those ceremonies were extremely important in native society and had a very strict protocol. People were guided in their trance by shamans and were accompanied by magical religious music. Especially in Siberian traditions, for example, the shaman playing the drum was indispensable in conducting the trance, enabling people to regain contact with the spiritual world, and the shaman to summon or imprison spirits. Amongst certain Amazonian Peruvian population, whistling incantations during periods of ritualized psychoactive intoxication served as a vital link in bridging separate realities induced by ingestion of the specific plants. The rhythmic structure inherent in many musical forms serves to create a series of pathways and banisters for the consciousness through which the drug user negotiates its way. Besides the use of hallucinogenic substances, however, the communion with the gods has had many phases during the centuries. In many native cultures, in fact, it was achieved without the use of any drugs and solely with the use of music. This kind of ceremonies, particularly common among the northern tribes, were focused on healing and involved other ways to interpret the trance experience. For the traditional healing procedures of the Ojibwe tribes, it was customary for the shamans to heal by drumming, rattling, chanting, dancing erotically, and handling hot coals. Drumming, chanting, and dancing were employed in combination to induce different states, like sensory deprivation, sensory stimulation, dietary restrictions, sleep deprivation, and hyperventilation. Yet another kind of trance are also spirits' possessions. They differ from common shamanism for the fact that the medium claims to surrender control of their body to an external spirit, while the shaman remains in control. In many Afro-Brazilian traditions, including candomblé, umbanda, and batuque, rhythm in particular plays a very important role. During candomblé trance performances, spirit mediums must dance according to very specific rhythms, employing very specific bodily postures in order for the individual deity to express itself. Each deity has its own characteristics. Oshala, the goddess of creation, for example, dances slowly and ponderously to a steady drum rhythm, while Oya, goddess of the wind, whirs gratefully to a quick polyrhythmic beat. During candomblé possession rituals, if the possessed person does not dance the correct dance to the correct rhythms, the possession is not deemed to be authentic. Shamanic culture and music don't limit to American natives' culture, though. They're also an important part of African religions, for example. In the Bore spirit possession cult of the West African Hausa, musicians perform specific songs, known as taake, for which of the 400 spirits incorporated in the cult, and music is performed on rattles, calabashes, and single-stringed lutes. There are also records of cultural music mixing with shamanic drug. In Gabon, in Central Africa, for example, the iboga shrub is used during initiation during rituals, in order to have controlled near-death experiences. During these ceremonies, polyrhythmic music accompanies the experience to enhance and increase the effect of the drug, so that the patients may need smaller amounts of the potentially harmful substance. In conclusion, no matter the place and the people, shamanism and the music always end up overlapping each other, sharing the most important bond across the continents.